So I've done a few rooms in the past about prospecting, and this one is kind of similar to the past rooms that we've had. But because of how the market has shifted, you're going to have to come up with different ideas on how to prospect. So this is more of prospecting and then how to get leads from prospecting. So Arnold, what are you doing in terms of prospecting? Arnold?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on mute. We're doing some mailers and email blasts, as well as some magazines to the selected clients and things like that.
So what are you doing in terms of prospecting for yourself?
Um, I'm making calls, following up on contacts and things like that. So,
And then do you have a way or a system of tracking how many people you're calling from different groups? So if you're doing calls, how many are you converting those into
yeah,
actual?
we're using Brivity to
Yeah.
CRM. So, and they track our leads as well as our calls. It's very easy for me to put notes into when I make a call. It automatically tells me who the client is when I dial the number. So
Okay.
yeah,
And then are you doing any door knocking? Are you doing any events?
I haven't done much door knocking yet, but that's something that I'm looking at doing here. So
Okay.
especially in the area where we just sold home in 6 days. So
Yeah, so that one, what I would suggest doing if you have a brand new listing, go before it goes on market, create like a flyer, and then go talk to your neighbors. Go talk to the neighbors and say, hey, listen, I've got a new listing that's coming up on the market. I'm doing a private open house for just the neighbors. And then make it into an event where you can get to know, who might be looking to sell. Ask them, do you have anybody, family, friends that you'd want to move closer to you? So maybe you'd be able to get, I don't know, a buyer for the property or at least another listing, potential listing.
yes, that's a good idea. We usually try to do that in this case because it happened really fast. The owner said we want to sell, and then we got the disclosures and got it put up.
It's quick.
Um, and that open house on Saturday, we actually had the neighbors coming by, both of them, and one of them had a relative, and the other one had their kids that they thought might want to buy it, but I'm not sure that the kids wanted to live right next door to the parents. So anyway, yeah,
I mean,
that's a very good idea to do the
yeah.
private opening. Yeah.
And it'd be a good idea to follow up with those kids because maybe they're like, hey, listen, we love our parents, but we don't want to be right next to them. We're
Hmm.
looking at this area. And maybe
Yeah.
they have
Yeah.
friends that also want to move. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
Typically how I do my rooms is it's more of a collaborative effort because I want to get to know you a little bit, see what we can do to help you really grow in terms of like your prospecting and lead conversion. I also am a big proponent of, if you're doing something over and over and over again and it's not working, you've got to change how you're doing prospecting. And a lot of times I'll get people that, they're like, yeah, I go door knocking all the time, but they don't actually like it and they're not changing their script. So that's why they're not actually getting conversion for leads. So focus on the things that you really like to do. Like for me, I love doing events. I have a speaking engagement in April for a business professional women in business event that's up in the valley. So I'm very excited about that. I am the only real estate agent that is going to be speaking. And I'm also part of the Seal Beach Chamber of Commerce. So I don't know if you're part of any organizations or associations up there.
No.
No? Do you want to join?
Uh, we have uh, we have some coverage. You guys have some coverage in north north of the Bay Area. Sonoma and Napa and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Maybe another idea for prospecting that I've talked to Daniela about is if you go to regular places, let's say you've got a coffee shop that you absolutely love, or you've got a gym that you go to every single day, talk to the manager or the owner of these businesses and say, hey, would it be possible to do like collaboration with you? No strings attached. You don't have to pay for anything. But would it be okay if maybe I can create like a coupon where, you know, if you mention my coupon, you get 10% off for the month of April. Something like that. So that way you're also promoting their business, but at the same time, you're promoting yours.
Okay.
Daniela,
Okay.
did you do that with your the gym?
No, I kind of had a little issue with them, so I don't think I'm gonna do it with them.
Okay. Find another business where you can collaborate. And it's also a great way to really network and market with that owner. So if they're doing other events like, hey, by the way, you know, we've got event this coming up this night, like you should come over. Coffee shops are great. There's always business people coming in and out. There's usually regulars. So that's another idea. If you don't want to join, let's say, a chamber, and you don't have to, you could always look online to see what events are coming up. So, for example, here in the South Bay of Los Angeles, not of NorCal, there was a huge ribbon cutting event for one of the local businesses. So, and it's free. It's a great way for you to network, great way for you to meet people that, you know, work for the city. And also, because it's a new business, they want marketing.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, I know you threw in there the coupon earlier. I had an agent, and he was an older gentleman when I first started Radius. This guy wasn't really that good with tech. He could barely use his email. He had this thing that every November he would go door knocking and he would give the people bread coupons. I don't even know what a bread coupon is, to be honest, but he was able to drum up some business from that. He got 4 clients through that. And it just shows the power of just going door knocking, just giving a little promotion and just offering something unique to these clients. 4 transactions. And I honestly, like, I was so amazed and I was impressed by his old school strategies. Even though he didn't know too much about technology, he wasn't incorporating CRMs or like just other platforms to make his job easier. He still was able to get a lot of business through that. So I highly agree with you when it comes to coupons and door knocking.
Plus, I mean, Arnold, since you're going to be getting into door knocking, just this past month, what some of my agents and I did was we sent out a little March letter to our neighbors. So you can reach out to your title rep, whoever that may be, and focus on your farming. For me, I wanted to do my area plus the streets over. And so what I did was I wrote this beautiful, really laid back letter to all my neighbors. And I put in there a scratch it. And I said, listen, if you win, let me know. It's totally going to make my day. And because of that, I ended up getting people reaching out saying, hey, I got it. You know, we didn't win or we did win. And they gave me their address. Now I have their cell number. Now I have their email address. And I let them know, hey, by the way, during the holidays, I bake pies. Would you like to be on the pie list? So it's just a great way to get your foot through the door. And if you are going to be door knocking, let's just say you're not going to be sending out mailers like that or letters like that. What you can do is, because of all the changes that are happening right now, like with the NAR settlement, which has not gotten approved yet, you can actually start a conversation, say, hey, by the way, did you know that, NAR has a settlement that's, currently being approved, and that's going to have a significant impact on the real estate market? And they're like, no, what are you talking about? There you go. Now your foot is through the door. Or, for example, in Los Angeles, there's so many changes going on, like with the ADU. Right now, they just passed a bill where they are basically regulating anybody that has short-term rentals in unincorporated areas of Los Angeles. So you have to pay almost $1,000 for a licensing fee, and you can't just kind of skirt around it. You're maxed out at how many days that you can utilize your Airbnb.
Yeah, they did with rentals. They did that something like that in Monterey County not too long ago because it cost us about $600 or something.
See,
So,
so these are great talking tools or talking points that you can start a conversation with people, because the whole point of door knocking isn't just to door knock. You have to give something of value every time you go to someone's door. And I get agents all the time that come to my door. Recently had a flyer that basically was like how to make this hummus dip. And the photo that they had, I mean, like, that doesn't look appetizing to me. But if you had something that was creative, that was like, this is not a newsletter, right? Interesting facts or something Redondo Beach homeowners need to know, they're going to read it and they're gonna be like, wow, this is interesting, because you're giving value.
yeah, that's what we consider doing with magazine. So putting different things together, articles in, as well as some recipes, things like that. So.
Yeah. And for you, even though you're on a team, you also want to promote yourself, because you're going out there and you're talking to people every single day. And they're not going to remember what brokerage you work for, what team you're on. They're going to remember you. So, you probably do you live in a residential neighborhood?
Yes. Yes.
So there's even creative things that you can do. Like, for example, one of my agents, I sent this over to her. She has a house over in Laguna Hills, and it's literally just like a cute little sign that says your neighborhood realtor. And then you can put your business cards in there, and then she puts it in her front yard. And neighbors have been going by and taking her business card. So that's a way to market yourself without actually talking about yourself.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Good idea.
So, and then I wrote down a few notes. Events, there's a lot of things that are coming up. One of the biggest things that I preach is social media. Now, not everyone is good at social media. I sucked at it when I first started. I was anti LinkedIn. Now I'm all about LinkedIn because I get a lot of sellers. I get a lot of buyers from LinkedIn. And it's amazing to see, like, once you start growing your following, that people actually watch your content and you don't even know who that is. So definitely utilize social media. It's free. That is the best way to target a lot more people for nothing.
Yes, I have quite a few people on social media, and many of them in the area here. Probably half of them, more than 500 or 600, I guess. I went through and made a list of my sphere of influence, and I've thought about doing that, putting out things like the weekly loan desk rates. So I haven't done that yet, but I'm starting to do that because I think LinkedIn is a better one. I mean, I don't use Facebook that much for those kind of things. I know people do, but that's just me. So,
But you can also cross market, and you don't have to like go to each individual page. Like, for example, on Instagram, when you do a reel or you do a post, you can actually also share it onto your Facebook page automatically. And for a while, I was kind of ignoring my Facebook and just trying to grow organically on my Instagram, but you got to do both. And a lot of times you may think, they should know I'm a real estate agent, but people forget. People forget what you do.
Right.
So
you post on Instagram and then you can direct it right to your Facebook page at the same time, or
you can there's a way for you to toggle it where it's like, do you also want this on Facebook? And it's automatic. You don't have to think about it. The other thing too is we have Canva through Radius, and what you can do is you can utilize ChatGPT and say, hey, I want to create, 5 tips for somebody that's looking to purchase their first home. Then you can take that, create it into a CVS file, export it into your Canva, and then the Canva will create, you can say Facebook post or Instagram post. It'll create the content for you. Then you can put it on your Instagram and schedule the content. So that way you set it and forget it.
Okay, you said ask ChatGPT 5 what?
You can go on ChatGPT and ask, like, for example, please give me 5 to 10 tips for a first-time
Oh,
home buyer
tips.
looking to
Okay.
purchase a home.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And I can definitely send you the Instagram pages that I follow that they're marketing people that solely focus on social media. But you have to utilize it. You have to be consistent. Like post every single day. Or for you, Arnold, you know your area. You are the area specialist. So maybe go to like your local coffee shop or go down, one of your favorite streets and say, hey guys, did you know that back in the 1920s, the street was, some interesting facts. People love facts, and it has to be a quick, 20, 30-second video, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing, cross market with businesses with your social media. So there's an awesome little thing on Instagram that you can actually collaborate with a business and they accept it, and it means it goes onto both your pages. So whoever likes it from their page also likes it on yours.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't used Instagram much, so I may start doing that now.
You should. Yeah, you don't
Yeah.
you don't even have to do paid, like where you pay for one of your posts to go to more people. It doesn't really work. The best thing to do is to share it and then have other people share it on their pages.
Okay.
And if you don't like doing the content and you don't like doing videos, what I would suggest is hiring a social media manager. And, I have a few vendors that I can send to you as well. Again, either you do it and you take the time to do it, or you have somebody do it and it's going to cost you money, but that way you're making sure that you're targeting and, potential clients from every single page.
Right. Right.
You have any questions so far? Or anybody have any
No,
questions?
I don't. Maybe someone else.
What are your thoughts on like drip campaigns through CRM?
Okay, so drip campaigns, I do look at the emails that get sent to me from like other agents and other businesses. The issue is people think, okay, if I just do a drip campaign, I just send out this email that people are going to open it. And that's not necessarily true. I think it's like a 10% open rate for a majority of drip campaigns. Like I tested one recently and I had a 45% open rate because you have to be strategic in how you do marketing and prospecting. So when you do a drip campaign, you want the tagline to be interesting enough to where people are like, oh, what is this? And then they open it. You don't want an email that's going to be super wordy. You want it to be quick and to the point, because humans have a 3-second attention span. So I do like drip campaigns, but you have to be hyper focused on what you're going to say and how you're going to target these people.
Got it. Just like in YouTube, the titles, it's kind of like clickbait, right? They gotta reel you in. So likewise with drip campaigns.
Yeah.
Would you also I'm sure you do this too, but I know for my sister, she's so loyal to her realtor because every November she gets a pumpkin pie, a $5 pie from Costco. But to her, that shows that, hey, look, this person thinks of me, and maybe they don't. Maybe they just have it written down on a schedule. But to her, that's how she feels, right? It's her perceived notion of how much her realtor is putting into it. So those kind of things, even like the happy birthdays when you set it up in your CRM, or like your anniversary of your house being bought or sold, those little things, some people take it a long way with that. So I know my sister does.
Yeah, so that's big. On my CRM, I have Follow Up Boss, and what I do is I put everybody's birthdays, like I put detailed notes. So if they have kids, when their birthdays are, and I put memories or experiences that we both had together. And what I typically do is I'll go ahead and bake pies for the holidays, but if they're having a baby, or if they're, somebody close to them passed away, I'll go ahead and send them flowers, or a little basket with a few essentials like diapers. So it's just being top of mind with your past clients. That's smart. And two, with Radius, we also have Loan Desk. And if you haven't used Loan Desk yet, highly suggest you do. But they can also keep track of your clients' like birth dates and anniversaries, and they can ping you and say, hey, don't forget the 1 year's coming up.
Yeah, we actually have one of our biggest partners is Rocket, and they have their own social media site. Even if you don't know anything about social media, they have a guide for LinkedIn, for flyers, for postcards, and all you have to do is just plug in your profile, and then these are auto created. Of course, you could edit them out, kind of like a CRM for just for the social media side, but it is there to help you, just like any CRM is. Hopefully everyone's using some sort of CRM, something to make your life a little bit easier. I know nowadays we can't keep track of everything unless you're uber organized.
Right.
I can't live without my CRM. Otherwise, like how are you going to remember your leads that you talked to last week?
Right. Right. Yeah, I take notes, and I called people, 2 months later that I already put on watch because they said, "Oh, I'm just looking for a friend," or "I'm just kicking tires," or whatever. And it's like, "Oh, I'm calling them again." It's like, "Oh yeah," and it's on my CRM. I just didn't look far enough back because I get all these biweekly drips in between. So
Yep.
yeah, but
And
it's good. It's great.
and even if somebody says like, hey, I'm just looking, there is a reason why they're looking at properties now. And you never know. They could go walk into an open house and all of a sudden they get pre-approved, they're writing an offer, and you just lost that potential lead. So I typically say like follow-up is about 70% of what you do, because and it takes about 8 touches for a potential lead to actually move into that next section. So lead to, prospect to client, showing homes, and yada yada. So does anybody have questions like what they've been doing that they want to strategize on, maybe tweaking a little bit?
Just to touch on what you said, you never know timing. A lot of people say, I'm just perusing, I'm looking for something 6 months, maybe a year out. But if they find the right house, if they find the right deal, if they find the right realtor, things could get pushed up very quickly. And I think just following up, like you said, is so important, because if someone's looking around, there's a reason why they're looking. And if you follow up early enough, you got to strike while the iron's hot. So if you just let them sit and marinate, they're going to look at all these other options. So it's really important that you identify, just like a doctor, all the symptoms of what they need. And then you're the expert, right? The subject matter expert on houses. So you just tell them, all right, this is what you told me, and this is how I can help you. So I do really feel like the follow-up is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing.
Yeah. And also you have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable. Like there's so many agents that refuse to do social media, that don't want to do videos, but then they expect all their friends and family members to know that they're a real estate agent, and then they get upset because X, Y, or Z went ahead and used somebody else. You have to stay top of mind. And you might think, oh yeah, being on camera is stupid, but the more that you do, it's like repetition, right? The more that you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get, and the better your videos are going to turn out. Like for me, I do a lot of educational videos. I do a lot of content because people do watch my stuff, and it's usually when I feel like, okay, is anyone paying attention? Somebody always messages me and goes, hey, I love, like recently I had somebody that came to my open house. They had bought a house already about 4 months prior. And, they're like, we really want to pick your brain. We're thinking about adding like an additional ADU onto our property. And just having that conversation with them opens the door to their friends and their family members. Even though they didn't use me, you never know. They could end up listing with me. So definitely get used to being on camera and posting a lot.
Yeah, I've done some in the past in the technology business. I haven't done any recently, but it's something that yeah, I understand. It's kind of funny when you say get comfortable being uncomfortable. So that's something that you have to do.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, I'm not a big public speaker. I get really nervous and I end up talking really fast, but there's groups for that. So there's meetups where you can actually practice your speeches in front of people and get, comfortable that way. But it's also a great way to network. The whole point of prospecting is to meet as many people as you can, right?
Right, right.
Another thing that you can also do is there's tons of groups everywhere. So there's meetups that you can do. There's also like Facebook groups that you can join. I'm in several different Facebook groups. Right now I'm working with a couple that's going through a really nasty divorce, but they are going to be selling their property probably August, maybe September. So there's ways to get business with just being part of these groups.
Right, right.
So, Daniela, what are you doing in terms of prospecting?
Door knocking, pretty much anybody that I meet, just like organic conversations, introducing myself to them at my other job. I prospect there.
So when you're going door knocking, are you having conversations with them, like getting to know them and taking down notes of, who you met, when you talk to them, what they do for a living, how long they've lived in the area, if they have any kids, where do the kids go to school?
It just depends on like them, like their vibe. If they're interested in talking, I'll talk to them and ask some questions. But some people are kind of, once they hear that I'm a real estate agent, they're kind of shut down. They kind of shut down a little bit.
So maybe you have to switch the way that you are presenting.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go, like for me, I've never really had anybody like yell at me. There was some awkward moments with door knocking where, a guy was practically naked, but I kind of flipped it around. I was like, "You're very comfortable, huh?" And we just started having a conversation. But when you go to the door, the first thing people are thinking of, like, what do you want? That's what they're thinking. What do you want? What are you trying to sell?
Mm-hmm.
So you just say, "Hey, listen, I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm actually your neighbor down the street and, local real estate agent, but just wanted to say hi and see if you need anything at this time. Do you need any vendor recommendations? It's springtime. Do you need, somebody to clean out your air vent or your dryer vent? Things like that." And when you go up to the door, and this takes practice, I look at certain things about the house, right? So the great part about Radius is that we have Mel. So you can literally type in the address and say, "Hey, Mel, when was the last time this property sold?" Boom. You say, so how long have you guys lived here? You probably lived here for a few years. How do you like it?
Yeah.
Have you checked this out? Do you know about the Saturday market? Like, great conversations. If you're going to the door saying, "Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I'm your neighbor and also local real estate agent. Do you know anybody that's looking to move into the area?" It's like, it's not personable, and you want to be personable. And sometimes, and this also takes practice, if you get somebody that's just like, like they look annoyed, whatever, pick something out. Like we went door knocking and it was during dinner and the guy seemed really annoyed. I'm like, I just broke the ice and I said, "That smells absolutely delicious. What are you cooking?" And then all of a sudden he was like, his wall was down. He told us about what he was cooking. We met the dogs, we met the kids. So that's how you're going to get through the door and separate yourself from all the other agents that are just kind of monotone and going through scripts.
Yeah.
So do you guys have any other questions for me?
I do not.
Okay. Arnold, do you have any questions?
No.
If you haven't followed me, follow me on my Instagram. I put out a lot of content on there. I kind of did a quick video on my 2 cents on what's going on with NAR. And yeah, just a lot of useful information. But if you are needing to strategize or have an idea or need to role play, let me know. More than happy to do a one-on-one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Since you mentioned the NAR, what can you give a quick opinion on what?
So
Without us having to go to Instagram right now. So
no,
yeah.
honestly, it's totally fine. My opinion is essentially if we go back to about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, for us down here in Southern California, we could not provide the buyer's commission on the MLS. So in some ways, we're kind of going backwards, right? Nothing really is changing. The seller can still give the commission, but it goes straight to the listing brokerage and then they can give it to us. So there's going to be certain things that we have to do as if we're representing the buyer, and how we're wording it on the, the buyer broker agreement and the ABCD form. So that way you get paid. So I'm not really worried about the changes that are going to be happening because really good agents, especially if they're representing the seller, they're going to be able to show value and say, hey, listen, you don't have to provide a compensation. No, like even now, a seller didn't have to provide compensation. But you do that because you do want to be able to bring more people to your property. And it allows me to go ahead and market your property even more and utilize those funds. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I do. So I have a friend, an associate of mine that works for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And there's a few things that are changing right now. So for starters, there's going to be a new government program that is going to be public information pretty soon. But essentially what they were looking at is they didn't think that there was going to be a high amount of foreclosures or pre-foreclosures. But now they realize that that number is like 30 to 35% nationally. And a lot of them are FHA and VA, which is government sponsored loans. So what's going to happen is the government's going to say, hey, if you utilize the COVID forbearance and you have missed payments, guess what? You're going to be able to take all those, roll it back into a 40-year loan, recast it, and keep your current interest rate. So we're not going to see a high number of foreclosures happening at all. I think this is going to push out a lot of real estate agents who have already not renewed their dues. About 35% of agents didn't. I think that number is going to be closer to 45% on the next, like before the year ends. So I think a lot of agents are going to leave the industry and a lot of loan officers as well, because it's not an easy field, but it's a very rewarding field. And I do think that, people are so worried about, oh, well, what if the buyer just goes to the listing agent? You have to think about it this way. If a listing agent is making, let's just say 4%, why would they want to give up any of their commission to represent the buyer, do more work, more potential, it could be, they could go to litigation because they're doing dual representation. Why would they want to do that? They're probably going to just refer it out to somebody else. So I'm not worried about what's coming.
Yeah, I see it a lot more perception as a change rather than really substance of a change. Because, I mean, if there's a buyer's agent and they have an agreement, then the buyer's agent's going to get half of it. But if there isn't, the seller's agent's going to take the full commission. So
Yeah.
I see a lot of people downplaying the value of a buyer's agent, and it's like, but some just don't understand the industry. So.
Yeah, and I was one of the first teams with Zillow Flex when they came to Southern California. I don't have Zillow Flex anymore, but even with them, I knew right away that eventually, and you can hate or love these corporations, but they're very smart. So Zillow implemented an idea and said, hey, we're going to have these teams to do, Zillow buyer flex side, Zillow seller flex side. And when you do that, you get more and more agents going onto these teams that need Zillow more than Zillow needs them. So they're able to change their referral fee agreement. And now it's increased. I think it's like 40 or 45%, which is a lot. And eventually what they're going to do is they're going to say, hey, listen, all these teams that work with us right now, you guys love us. We made you some money, but now you have to decide either you're going to join us or you're going to leave Zillow altogether, because Zillow does want to be its own brokerage, and they're going to be like a flat rate fee type of brokerage.
Right.
And
Right.
Purple Bricks was a flat fee brokerage, and they didn't do well because the cost, you can't have somebody like in our industry working for $500 for a listing or for a buyer. And so I think a lot of sellers and a lot of buyers are going to have experiences using these flat fee kind of agencies, and they're not going to have a good experience. And then they're going to say, well, and my response to people that are like, if they say, well, blah, blah, blah is going to do it for 0.5%, I'd say, then why are we even meeting? It sounds like you made your own decision that you want to go ahead and work with them for 0.5%. But what if I told you that, what if you're leaving money on the table, seller? Do you ask for a discount if you're going to go get major surgery from your doctor? Does the insurance company give you a discount? No. Does your attorney? No. So as an agent, if I'm representing you, it's because you see something in me that is different from the other agents that you're interviewing with, correct? Great.
Right.
So, and then what I typically say is, I have more than a decade of experience in real estate and lending. And for me, I'm going to be working double overtime to make sure that we get what you want. And the reason why you work with me is because you have some sort of protection throughout the process.
Right.
And that's why I'm not going to be 0.5%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just kind of, I think it's going to be more of showing your value. And, if a client trusts you, they trust you.
Yeah, I believe it's been that case for a while in some areas, and depending on the agent. I mean, we first bought in the early 90s, 91, and the agent we signed a buyer's deal with, we used him again when we bought 2 years later. But, he convinced us that he could help us more than ourselves trying to deal with the agents. And he did a good job. So.
See? And then you remember him because of that.
Right, right.
You can also even say, like, if people have a hard time with signing the buyer broker agreement, to say, listen, during COVID, we had a form called the PED form that was required for anyone that wanted to look at any properties on the market. So it's kind of the same concept. The laws have changed, the rules have changed, and we require you to sign this in order for us to go ahead and show you these properties and to represent you.
Yeah.
And every agent's going to be doing that. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think,
I haven't worried. It's just that there's a lot of discussion. And I think that there's probably more discussion than is merited about how it would really affect the industry, but we'll see down the road. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. I do think that eventually in the next few years, they're probably going to revert some of these changes. But again, right now, nothing is in stone because it has to get approved. And just today, there's a few brokerages that are not protected under this settlement. So I think one today went ahead and, said we're going to give like $50 million to be out of this. So I don't know. Who knows? It might go through, it might not.
Okay, thanks.
So, but yeah, it was great having you, Arnold. If you have any questions or anything, just let me know. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Have a great day.